You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Wow, we have 2024 right around the corner. And if you're not already thinking about what is this new year going to bring, what are the things that we might need to be present to and aware of, the shifts and changes in our online world, in the people using it, in how we're thinking about business, life, investments that we make, all of those things, then this episode is going to share with you what I've seen. The trends that I'm seeing have just ignited and are going to continue or grow into 2024. So I've got four main ones that I'm sharing with you. And then there is a small word at the end about AI, but I on purpose left AI out of my four major predictions. Why? Because I do not want to be the same as what everybody else is talking about. And I know that that is a very common prediction. So you'll be glad to know AI is not one of the four. There are four other huge things that I'm seeing happening, that groundswell behavior, mindset that I'm seeing in the online world that I think is super important for you to be aware of heading into 2024. So stay tuned. This is coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Welcome back to the podcast today. It is the week of Christmas, which means that life is getting really hectic. And I thought that it was high time I did a 2024 predictions post, just with the things that I've seen change over the year of 2023 as we're wrapping that up, the last week or so of the year to go now, and what I can see unfolding for us in 2024. As long as obviously I have that crystal ball there, no one really can tell the future, but we can see trends that are picking up and gaining momentum. So those trends are what I'm absolutely going to share with you today, what I see as gaining momentum, gaining importance in the market, what that means for us and what we need to be doing or thinking about as we head into 2024. So the first one, let's dive straight in and get into these today. Number one, I'm seeing even more of an increase in personalization happening and a need for personalization. I think that as a market, if we're talking about the online space, we're talking you're in online services, you're a coach, your customers, obviously, we're all becoming very savvy online buyers. And, while the global boundaries of us doing business are lower than they've ever been before, we're also getting much more needing something more high quality, needing something that we feel like is really genuine and the person is really there for us. So personalization, I think, is becoming much, much more important. And we're looking to see that this is, not a bulk message going out to just people in general. Like, we want to be feeling like we're actually being spoken to as a human and on that layer that feels like the person really knows us, which I know is not like, we all know it's not possible for a stranger on the internet to know us in person, but you can get that feeling from it if they're speaking to what's actually going on inside your head, how you're feeling, you're relating to the things that they're saying on such a deep level. It feels much more personal. You're feeling seen, you're feeling heard, you're feeling understood. And that's what we're seeking, that's what we're engaging with. So this is your moment, a bit of a wake-up call if you're not currently collecting people's first names, for example, when you're subscribing them to your email list. This is the time to start collecting them. This is the time to be using them. Please make people feel like they are valued and they're not just a number or an email on your list, but they're a real human being. So what can you do to personalize the experience for them? I love using technology to help me even personalize the type of communications I send to someone based on their behavior, based on what I know about them. For example, if somebody downloads one of my freebies and they're already on my list, they don't get the same email as someone who's brand new to my list. I already know them. They're already in my community. So I'm not going to reintroduce myself to them the same as I would to somebody who's brand new. So thinking about really simple things like that can make such a difference to the experience that you're receiving or that you're providing, which helps you to connect with people better. What this means as well, the other key takeaway from the personalization is it's almost impossible to have that level of personalization if you aren't specialized enough, if you have not taken the time to get really specific and define who you're there to serve, what it is that you do for them on a much more detailed level. You might know what that is inside your heart, inside your brain even, internally you might know what it is and have a really clear picture of who you're speaking to in your mind. But if you're not being clear on what you're saying and the way that you're communicating it, then how can anybody else be clear that you're speaking to them? It's not just about the stories or the relatable stories that you tell. It is in the words that you select. So if you work with coaches, say coaches, don't say entrepreneurs or small business owners, because that's so broad. We're like, well, yes, I am an entrepreneur, I am a small business owner, but so are millions and millions and millions of people. And there's many entrepreneurs, many small business owners that have zero relevance to me in my business and the challenges that I'm facing or the goals that I have. So get more specific. Please take this as a cue to really ask yourself, are you being specific or are you still in a broad category? So get super clear on that. That is essential. If you want to have the level of clarity that really cuts through and stands out, then you need to be saying the words that someone is like, bang, that is exactly, they're talking to me. I am an online coach and I have this exact problem. Yes, I'm fearing, speaking on video on my social media. Maybe it's even on Instagram, like that specific. So you're talking to them about something that's very, very relevant that they are understanding right now. For another example might be for mine. For example, I work with online coaches and I help them to move from hourly rate charging into high ticket offerings so that they can, attract the premium clients they need and they can have more time in their day, in their life to be spending with their family, for themselves. Now, I see other people who also do high ticket coaching for coaches, but they're not specific about that lifestyle factor. So for me, that is very critical. It's key. That's what I'm all about, is less work, more lifestyle of business, because it's not for me about making the money. While yes, we all want the money, we want the prosperity, we want to be able to invest back into our community, we want to support our families. But the lifestyle, what's the point of making loads of money, having a 7-figure business if you're working all day, all night? That's not the point of it, is it? We're not here to work our butts off for 40 years so that we can retire and then have fun later on in life, when maybe all of that working might have not done great things for your body and you might not even be enjoying life at that point. Like, I don't see why we shouldn't be enjoying every moment, every day that we're having right now, because you never know what's around the corner. Life is way too short to be saying, well, someday, one day, I'm going to start enjoying my life. You can absolutely have it now. And that's exactly, for me, what the critical thing is. So I talk to that. I specifically talk to that in everything that I talk about in my messaging on my website, when I do my trainings. And obviously my business framework is designed to give that outcome. So I get super specific and I make no hesitation in talking about high ticket offerings. Now, high ticket, it just means $1,000 and above. Now, if you're offering any sort of one-to-one service, whether you're a coach or even if you're offering a marketing service such as copywriting or design, and you're not in that range, then it's time to really have a look at it. How are you charging right now? Is it hourly rate? Because it doesn't mean that we have to suddenly add a whole lot of zeros onto what you're doing, but it's just changing the way that you're offering it so that you're moving into a place where you're doing a lot less selling and less marketing. You're spending more time on the stuff that's earning you the income, which means that you can spend less time working in your business. Like, that's exactly what it's all about. So this personalization, as you can see, when you get specific, I can be very personalized. I can exactly talk to the person who's currently charging hourly rates and feeling like that's how the market is and that's how they need to be doing it because it's what clients expect. And I can talk to that challenge and how we can work around that, how we can still provide that exact service, but offer it in a different way that works out better for you and for the client. Because at the end of the day, less back-end admin, less processes means easier time for you, a much more streamlined business. So that's number one, more personalized. How can you be more personalized in your offerings, in your messaging, in what you who you're talking to, what you're saying, and even in your business operations? How can you provide that really great feel of personalization to your clients, to your audience? The second one is kind of related, and this one I think is going to be huge, and it is integrity, I'm going to call it. People are seeking integrity in who they're hiring, and this is growing and growing and growing. Just this week, I've literally seen a couple of posts that stood out to me on social media, and I'm not spending hours and hours scrolling through different groups or anything. This is like I've turned on my phone, I've opened up Facebook or Instagram, and it's like the top post that I see there. Somebody's had a bad experience where they've attended some highly marketed webinar with somebody famous who's coming along, and they were presented with an offer that was really, when you look at it, too good to be true, right? You pay $5,000, you're going to get $50,000 in investment ROI coming back to you within a few weeks. Like, that just sounds incredible. And when anything sounds that incredible, it's probably not true. And unfortunately for this person, they did invest in it. It did not deliver. And it's left a really, this is spreading. There's other people chiming in. They've had the same experience. And what this does is, wow, we do want to shine a light on these people operating outside of integrity, not following up on their promises. We want to stamp that out. We want people to become more savvy. And yes, we are becoming so much more savvy. And at the same time, I think that what I want to share with this conversation is that does not mean all webinars are dodgy, or all people running a webinar are dodgy, or the offer that they're selling is not true. It's unfortunate that there are a few people out there that have very low scruples, that are, all about just making the sale and with nothing to follow it through. But that does not mean that that is the majority at all. Personally, what I see out there is a lot of people with very high integrity, with amazing offers. Yes, they may do a webinar as a way to let you get to know them over a very short period of time, like an hour and a half, get to know somebody. You make an offer. If they choose to do it, that's fantastic. And most people I see doing this have got something of real value, and they over deliver on their promises. So, I think what I take from this is we're looking for integrity. People have got their radars, their scam radars on high alert. So it's something that we want to think about. Is everything that we're doing, are we making promises that we can deliver on and even over deliver on? Are we showing up with integrity? Are we doing what we say we're going to do? And be aware that, people are on alert for it. So we want to make sure that you're also allowing them to really feel you as an authentic person. What can you do to show them that you're not one of these people? And doesn't mean not to do a webinar. I do webinars. I love them actually because it's such a fun way to teach. And I always make sure I'm giving so much value in my webinars. I call them online trainings generally because it is a mini training. You come and you get something of value. You go away, whether you choose to continue on and work with me afterwards, that's entirely up to you. There is an option to do that. If you don't want to, then that's fine as well. But there's no pulling wool over anyone's eyes. There's nothing that's like, this is just a sales pitch you're turning up to, because to me, that's not the purpose of a webinar. It's to give it something, to give you a taste of what it's really like to work with me and, to see what, do you like the sound of my voice? Do you like the way that I teach? If you don't, then hey, we're not going to probably be a great fit to work together, are we? So that for me is what it's all about. And I know that there's lots of others who are exactly like me. And so let's not turn ourselves off from webinars in total or people who run webinars, because the majority of them are amazing value. But, yes, we want to have that, be looking out and be aware that people are really looking out for those who are lacking in integrity, because unfortunately, as the market grows and more people are entering the market, there are people who are desperate and who go to desperate measures to try to sign clients, and they're probably overstepping the line in terms of their focus is on their own goal as opposed to on serving their community and their clients. So that's definitely something I'm seeing a lot more is rising up. People are talking about it. People are definitely becoming more savvy, especially after either they've been burnt or they've read a story of somebody who's been burnt. People are becoming a lot more savvy. So I'm seeing, a real increase in the success of people who are stepping into and showing real integrity, really being that authentic person who's showing up, who's doing what they say that they'll do, and, people following them because of that amazing experience. That was number two. The third one that I think is going to be huge in 2024 is community. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously we're a few years past COVID now. We're not all isolated and at home. However, the community of entrepreneurs online and the community that you choose to be part of is more important than ever, because it is a lonely road when you decide to become an entrepreneur. More than likely, the people in your family and the people around you are not, and they don't necessarily really understand what it is that you struggle with, because what they see on the outside is, hey, how amazing, you get to have this lifestyle, there's freedom of choice, you're working for yourself, you don't have all of these things and challenges that you had as an employee, but you have a different set of challenges, and a lot of them are inside your head. And that's where I think that it's so important to bring people in around you who are the right people. So yes, you want to selectively choose your community, choose your online community of entrepreneurs, choose some that are your peers. And now this is where I'm seeing the shift happening, is probably away from really broad general communities of just like, hey, women in business all come together, and people are being much more selective about the communities they're joining. They want to be in a place where they have like-minded peers. So people who have a similar type of business, because then it's much more relevant for them. The time that you're going to invest and spend in that community, you're gaining real value from it, as opposed to being in a community of business owners, which, some of them have absolutely very little relevance, very little to do with what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So yes, people are looking for relevance, looking for like-minded peers, and even more so than ever, looking for people who are at a similar stage in business as well. So what I think we're going to see is a movement of ourselves and of the buyers out there selecting communities that we feel are the most relevant for us, where we see a really high proportion of people who either run the exact same business or very, very similar businesses, and are also at a similar stage of business. So I think we're going to see the communities that exist online, the ones that are already out there, probably feeling like they need to specialize and niche in a little bit in terms of who they're really there for, and stop trying to be a community for everybody and start being a community for, a group of people. Provide more value because it becomes more relevant, right? And, if you're not currently a member of any sort of online community, then I do encourage you to think about that as we head into 2024. It's just so beneficial to be around people who understand you, who have experienced the things that you have, who can offer their experience and insights to you, regardless of whether they are a member of the community or maybe a coach who's leading it. You really want to be selective about those groups that you put yourself in, because they can make or break your journey. Like if you're in a community of people who are constantly complaining, or have got a mindset that's very freebie based and low cost, low price, but you're in a business where you're wanting to sell high ticket offerings, there's going to be a real incongruence there between the mindset of the people that you're engaging with and then what you're attempting to do in your business. You want to be putting yourself in a place where the people who you're listening to and who you're listening to their stories, they are in that space as well. They're people who don't think something in the thousands is a lot of money. They think it's just normal. They think it's natural to invest that amount in themselves and their business. And likewise, they have that similar type of offering themselves. Because they're totally different approaches with the types of people who, have that type of offering. And that's going to make such a difference to you, because you're not going to feel like you're constantly thinking, oh my goodness, mine is so overpriced and I need to discount, or, all of that money stuff really comes up, but it's coming up because you're reflecting, or you're gaining that from the community that you're in, the people you're listening to. Whereas if you can be in one where it's very normal to have offerings that are in the thousands, whether it's 4 figures or 5-figure offerings, then you're going to start to feel like, no, this is just normal. And then looking at what you're offering and maybe thinking, is it even enough? Am I charging enough for the value that I bring to my clients? That's a much more empowering place to be in, right? So selecting your community is the trend that I'm seeing, and being selective about the community you place yourself in so that it is supporting your growth, supporting you to step forward and into the place where you want to be, as opposed to holding you back. And that's, oh goodness, so important. I've seen both of them at play. I've been in both, and what a difference it made when I made a choice to be in a community that was supportive of that future that I had in mind. The fourth one that I see, the fourth prediction, is an individual touch in services. So what we saw, I think, over 2022, 23, definitely was an increase, as there has been, I think, for a number of years now, in online programs, online courses, maybe group programs, memberships, are sort of one-to-many, as so many of us we've heard about, hey, scale your business, stop doing one-to-one, do a one-to-many offering. And a lot of people sort of shifted into that. Of course, I have my own one-to-many offerings, but what I've seen that is really desired, and what I've made an effort to make sure I've brought back into my one-to-many offerings, is some one-to-one touch. So people are wanting, yes, they love being in a group environment. They love having others that are on the journey with them, and just the learning and the experience that you get from being in a container such as that, where you have other people who are going through it with you, is also like they do want to actually have that one-to-one time, that one-to-one experience. And so how can you bring that in so that they're not feeling like just a faceless number in your course or in your program, where everybody is sort of like given the exact same steps, which is something I've heard people describe to me, some of their experiences in some other places where, each week they're sort of taught something and it's just delivered content that is for everybody, as opposed to a place where they can come in and bring in their own questions, work through their own thing, get individual support on what it is that they're going through. I'm seeing people really looking for and craving that individual support, because while there is a lot of commonality, especially with what we're coaching or what you're teaching, or in those programs, that's valid for most. There's always going to be something that someone feels like, well, I could get that sort of 70%, but I really need to be able to talk about my specific situation with you in order to nail it, in order to get to the 100% mark where you feel like, okay, yes, I'm very clear, I've absolutely nailed it. I don't believe you can get that to the extent that you need when it is something that, is delivered content. It's pre-recorded. Now, there are a few times, I'm going to caveat that with, if the person who's delivering it has got really good questions that you can ask yourself to actually uncover the things that you need and to confirm what you're thinking, so that you can do that sort of self-education and self-selection, great. However, it is hard. It's a skill, absolutely, that to understand what are the right questions that people can ask themselves so that they can find it out, and not to still be in doubt even once they've answered those questions. Because anytime there is doubt remaining, then it's really holding you back. So that's why I'm seeing this need for individualization. That's why in my Business Jam program, I've added in 3 months of group coaching in a really small, intimate group where each person is known. I get to know your business, I get to know you, you get to ask questions, you get specific help on your own business. And, even then with people who are joining in and continuing with the group coaching, we have a one-to-one chat as well. So that is happening as well as that group element. And that means that getting the support that you need to really embed it, to really excel, to make sure there's nothing that's left that's holding you back. Because it's not always about the content, the information. It is so often about the way you're perceiving it, the way that you're thinking about it. And that really comes out when we're able to have those more personalized discussions. So that is something that I've noticed and seen happening, just in the last few months, really. And these are some changes I've literally just made into my business, because I see what it is that people really need and how I can best serve them. So introduce that in. No, it hasn't changed the pricing because I've added that in. It's actually something I'm adding in because I want to make sure everybody is having a fantastic result when they come and work with me. And it is that their success is my success. So why would I not want to do that? It is, for me, nothing better when I see people having huge success, when I see them, actually having a result they didn't even come to me for. It's like their result is so much greater. They're like, oh, I came because I wanted clarity. I wanted to have an easier time attracting clients. They go away going, wow, I went from, 10K months up to 25K months within 3 months. Like, that is incredible. They didn't even come in with that goal in mind for that sort of time frame. Obviously, it would have been a goal for a longer time frame, but to achieve that in such a short time, I think is just an outstanding. And I love that. How good is that? And achieve a milestone, achieve a goal that you hadn't even sort of set because you didn't even realize it was possible. That's the kind of thing that I love to see. So those are my predictions. 2024, we are getting far more savvy. We want to be treated as a human that people really understand, not just on a surface level. Like, I don't want to be spoken to just as a mum who's a business owner. I want a lot more personalization and real understanding of what I'm going through. Integrity, we are 100% on alert for scams. We're looking out for people who are not in integrity, who are just selling something, and this is where I think I just wanted to add in on that one. I saw people bad mouthing marketers for a while, and I'm like, oh, let's be careful there. There are people who have learnt marketing and, they're nothing else, and they have decided to market something because they're good at marketing. Whereas there's a difference between a marketer who's actually teaching marketing, who's a good coach or a good educator, they can be both. They can be both a good marketer and a good educator. And it's up to you to kind of make sure that you're not tarnishing everybody with the same brush. Look for the people who are all show with nothing below, and look for the people who are saying what they intend. They are genuine people, and that's something that you have to trust. I think your gut, you've got to trust your intuition on that one. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. The third one was community, finding your community where you can actually thrive, where you're with peers, where it's really relevant for you, where you are having your time really well spent. I think assessing where you're spending your time right now. Are you spending it in groups that are extremely valuable, extremely relevant for you? Or is it just like, this is nice and I'm making some connections? Because while there's nothing wrong with that, it's like your time is so valuable. Are you leveraging it to the ultimate potential? And I see people, wanting to be maximizing their time and having more time that's outside of business, like to be actually living their life, which means that time that you're doing for work is precious, and we're looking to make sure it's being leveraged to that highest degree. The final one was the individual touch, the individual, one-to-one style of support, bringing that in to programs that may not have been designed that way, but people really looking for that. They're absolutely looking for someone to listen to them, to really know how to help them and help them to implement what it is that they're trying to achieve. So that is it. They're my predictions for 2024. I think it's going to be an absolute blast of a year. I can see, just so much potential. There's always so many things that we can do. I'm super interested to see how AI develops. I particularly left this out of this discussion because I think so many people are going to talk about AI when it comes to 2024 predictions. It's obviously it's right there. It's still new. That's going to be the buzzwords for sure. I'm looking for what are the things that we can use that really take our time away, as in give us our time back. That is what I'm seeing AI as being absolutely fantastic for. Right now, I'm not seeing it as a replacement for a human brain. I think that there's so much that we have as humans that AI, really can't replace. It can give you information, but it can't help you with that integration, with really executing on it. Like, how do you apply that information to your personal situation? Well, AI can't tell you that because it doesn't know your personal situation. And, really, if you're going to spend half an hour writing in some very, very complex prompt so that it does understand your personal situation, have you saved yourself time in the first place? Or could you have just thought of it yourself? I think that I see AI as being super useful as a tool for some of that stuff that we've been doing manually. And I'm interested and excited to see what else emerges in 2024. What can they come up with? What can they invent that will help to eliminate any kind of manual processing that we're doing? Even with the technology that we have now? Can we automate it even more? Can we link things even more? Remove human processing on stuff that we don't need to be doing so that we can step into that place where we're absolutely valued as a human for our knowledge and expertise, but the way that we can, pull things that are disconnected together, use our own intuition and insight. That is something that a computer cannot do. So I'm loving this integration that's happening, looking forward to seeing what's happening in 2024. And there's going to be so much cool stuff happening on this podcast. So if you're not yet a subscriber, if you're brand new, listening to your first episode, hello and welcome. And thank you for joining me. Please hit that subscribe button. We have so many amazing guest speakers. I'm absolutely thrilled with the lineup I've got already for the next month or two heading out ahead of us. We have got some really great episodes that I know you're going to find super valuable and that will help you to improve your business. It will help you to improve your own well-being, even your mental, physical well-being, because yes, that's all important when you're running a business. Like, you're the golden goose that lays the egg, as many like to say. So you got to look after yourself, otherwise, that it has a direct impact on your business. And I'd love to bring you that sort of holistic view here on She's the Business. Thanks for tuning in. And if you've loved this episode, please feel free to drop a 5-star rating and even a short review, because I love to receive the reviews. I read every single one, and yours may be selected for review of the week and shared on a future episode. Thank you, and talk to you next week. If you're a coach, a consultant, or an online service provider, and you're sick of relying on referrals or feeling really overworked and underpaid for the time that you're putting into your business, and really just want to feel like you're on the path to having a fulfilling high-income business that allows you to work part-time hours so you can spend more time with your family, for yourself, and actually enjoy your life, then I have the solution for you. My program, Business Jam, contains my proven strategy for attracting high quality clients to really profitable and saleable services that also fit your lifestyle needs, so that you've created a game that you can win in your business, and it actually gets you to the outcome that you set out to create when you first started. Now, this is for you whether you've been in business for 10 years, 20 years, or even if it's year one, then this is your core marketing strategy foundation that helps you to focus on the right things, stop focusing on all of the wrong things and wasting all of your time with activities that you don't need to be doing. So we get you streamlined and attracting in exactly what you need to have the business outcome that you desire. Business Jam is not open right now, but the waitlist is open. So head to jessicaosborne.com/waitlist and put your name down to get on my priority waitlist for Business Jam. So you're first to hear about it when we're opening doors next. And I always save a few extra special things just for the people who are on my waitlist. So that could be you. So head over to jessicaosborne.com/waitlist to get your name on the priority waitlist for Business Jam. And you'll be first to hear all about it when we're opening up next.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of She's the Business podcast. I hope that you've been enjoying it as much as I have in creating the content to bring to you. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your presence and your attention. Now, if you love the podcast, or maybe you just loved today's episode, then I would absolutely appreciate it if you would go to Apple Podcasts, scroll down, hit the 5 stars, and then leave me a short review about what it was that you really enjoyed in this episode, or maybe in the podcast overall. And when I receive those reviews, then I love to give those reviewers a shout out on my future podcast episodes. So you never know, you may hear your name getting a shout out in a future episode if you do that. So thank you once again for your time, and I'll see you next time on She's the Business.